Chaos, violence outside of an ICE detention facility in New Jersey. Rioters ignored an emergency curfew order and instead went after the Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, police officers, and even their horses. Some people were throwing rocks and big pieces of wood while others lit fires in the street and tried to breach safety barricades. Mind you, the curfew's going on. They don't care. They just breached that. 20 people arrested, and we're watching to see if those protesters show up again today. This has been night after night after night. Like 9 or 10 nights now. Outnumbered now. I'm Harris Faulkner. Joining us today, Lydia Hu, Fox business correspondent. Kennedy, host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast. Lisa Booth, Fox News political analyst. And Marcus Lemonis, entrepreneur, Fox News contributor, and host of The Fixer on Fox Business and Fox Nation. Well, state and local police showed up when the crowd ignored the mayor's 9 p.m. curfew. They were fully kitted out in riot gear, forming a defensive wall in front of ICE agents and using their shields to block rocks and lumber that people were throwing. Cops had to deploy tear gas to try to push the crowd back. And here's another angle where you can see the chaos that continued outside Delaney Hall. Separated by a barricaded fence, rioters screaming, cursing, and launching objects at these federal agents. Plenty of high-profile Democrat lawmakers have joined the protests. Did you hear what I said? They joined the violent protests and demanded DHS shut down the facility entirely. The rioters are facing serious charges after threatening and attacking ICE agents. This from the U.S. Code, just so you know how the law works. Whoever threatens to assault, kidnap, or murder a United States official, a United States judge, a federal law enforcement officer, shall be punished. Well, Marcus, I butchered your last name. Forgive me. But the facts are what they are.
Yeah.
They can't, you know, I said last night, why don't they just arrest everybody? And some pushback has been, well, then this will escalate this. How do you, this is a riot.
Well,
it's already escalated.
It feels like it's become theater more than anything else. And the question that people have to have at home is, if there are rules established, if you don't like them, there's a methodology to changing them. But while they exist, the answer isn't beating people, threatening people, throwing rocks at people. And what I worry about is if this becomes the norm, every time somebody doesn't agree with the law, the answer can't be this. But at the same time, you want to respect people's right to protest. This doesn't look like protesting to me. This looks like absolute chaos.
You know, Lydia, the one thing that I did notice is, you know, because I live in New Jersey, full disclosure. So the governor, the new governor, Cheryl, doesn't like ICE. She ran on that. She's pushing it now. But local police were there. And they helped, and they worked with those federal agents last night.
You know, I'm a fellow Garden State resident, too, so I'm glad you mentioned that. So I've been following that quite closely. What is the reaction of our elected officials there in the Garden State? And Mikey Sherrill, the governor in particular, new to office, I feel like she's really kind of straddling both lines. To her credit, she did call in the New Jersey State Police.
Yeah.
You know, I think she deserves credit there. But I think a really good question to ask and to focus on are what were her initial policies as soon as she got into office? One of the things she did, she signed a bill into law that banned ICE agents from wearing masks. She signed executive orders that prevented and limited the amount of cooperation that state agencies can have with ICE as they're enforcing their own immigration orders from ICE. She's also prohibiting ICE from being on state property. When you have those types of policies rolled out, in addition to her blaming this past weekend ICE for what we're seeing unfolding on our screens, you have to wonder how much of her commentary is actually inviting this type of rioting.
Well, and Kennedy, that takes me to what does she really mean? Because those actions that Lydia just talked about, in part, have helped us get here in yet another state in the United States.
Yeah, another state, another jurisdiction where, you know, lawmakers could work with federal law enforcement because, you know, the protesters, the rioters who are chanting "free them all," 90% of people don't want them all freed. You know, 90% of people want their communities to be safe, and they would much rather take a rational approach to take the most dangerous people out of this country and out of their neighborhoods because a lot of people do feel threatened and they do feel terrorized. And for Mikey Sherrill, it is this all or nothing, me politics that, you know, I don't even know if she has a landing point for her political philosophy. She just wants to score as many points as possible by agitating the unwell. You know, that is what happens when you have governors and mayors step out and say, you know, like Tim Walz, like, get out your phone, make sure you're pushing back. So, you know, normal people who want normally functioning communities, a protest might be a nice, rational idea. But for the unwell, they take that as a signal to push everything to its limit because they are addicted to the chaos. You know, and to Marcus's point, these are not people who are, you know, worried about standing up for the oppressed and vulnerable in their communities. They are protest tourists who get their jollies off on punching police horses and, you know, making things as extreme and as violent, no matter what the subject matter, no matter where they are.
You have elected officials who are there to support the law, endorsing it and supporting it and joining it.
Well, because this is what the Democrat base wants. Axios reported last July on the bloodthirst within the progressive base. You had Democrat lawmakers talking to Axios, and one said that constituents demand they be willing to get shot at ICE facilities. Another said there needs to be blood to grab the press and the public. A third said civility isn't working, prepare for violence to fight and protect our democracy. That's what we've seen across the country since then. At these ICE facilities, we've seen ICE officers shot. We've seen assaults increase exponentially. We've seen vehicle rammings. We've seen protesters die because they've engaged aggressively with some of these ICE agents as well. And then, as what's been pointed out on this couch, Democrat lawmakers, they're not discouraging it. They're lighting the match. They're encouraging it. Every time they call the ICE the Gestapo, every time they make references to Nazi Germany, they are pouring gasoline on the fire, and it's further erupting. And as you pointed out, Harris, we've had 13 lawmakers on the Democrat side visit the Delaney Hall in the past 2 weeks alone. We had one member of Congress, a Democrat, arrested and charged for attacking federal agents, for assaulting federal agents. So I'm sorry, but this is what the Democrat Party today wants. It's evil, it's wrong, but until they condemn it, we're just going to see more of this, unfortunately.
My big question, Lydia, is are these lawmakers showing up to a riot, or are they fomenting this on the front end? I mean, I think we need to take a closer look at how involved they could be.
And I think it's worth reminding everyone why this all started at Delaney Hall. It was over concerns about the quality of the food. How do we go from questioning what are they eating to suddenly allowing people shouting, I'm going to kill you at these riots?
Well, you know, and what's really interesting is, so we got a whole list of that. We showed it last hour, and it was all the ways that those things are being addressed. We've got the accused assassin. Well, they didn't want to prosecute him that way, but Luigi Mangione, they were worried about his food, who's a vegan, who's not among the accused assassins here in the country. I mean, we've gone so far afield from the crimes that are being committed. And look, this is not Iran. We imprison somebody, of course we have standards for how we feed and clothe and do all of that. But if you want to challenge on that, then let's talk about the menu. It's out today. We've done our homework. Last quick thought.
No, I have no, but this is so ridiculous. I was looking at the wall that had all the politicians that have actually visited in the last 2 weeks, and I don't know if we can put that up.
What legislation have they sponsored?
Well, I think it's bigger than that, and we talked about it just a minute ago, and I'll be short about it, is are they endorsing, are they crafting, are they driving, and are they validating this for people that these folks that are out there committing these, what I'll call crimes, are they going to feel like they have protection of these lawmakers?
They do. But it's
but
also
are they
not
actually going to feel like they have it?
Real quick, it's also not just over, worried about like young women and children. They have defended, and 5 lawmakers went to El Salvador to stand with Kilmar Abrego Garcia when he was in prison
Maryland
there.
Dad, Lisa.
The Maryland dad, yeah, who has been accused of being an MS-13 member, of human smuggling, of beating his wife, right? So it's not like they're just trying to stand with, women and children. They're standing behind criminals and trying to prevent their deportation.
They're trying to win points is what they're trying to win, the theater.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.